You're back at The Flower of Freedom by Deborah J. Reeves. All rights to both the book and presentation are reserved. This is Chapter 71, Game Over. In this chapter, one of the players is quite seriously injured. I just wanted to prepare you for that as you sit. If you choose to skip this chapter, please skip the next one as well. This is Chapter 71, Game Over. Here we go. Not long after the second period started, the coach of the opposition team drew one of the boys to the side and he spoke to him in low tones. Aki was having trouble following the game, so he happened to be looking that way when the coach pointed to Bertie. Within a minute, the skinny boy who had been speaking with the coach went onto the ice. One player on the ice went near his bench, and suddenly the skinny boy was on the ice as the other boy left. Marie told Aki that it was called a substitution on the fly, but Aki could not see why. No one was injured. Bertie's lightning-quick reflexes shoved the puck along to Dietrich. Dietrich moved toward the net. The skinny boy did not seem to be interested in the puck. He went barreling toward Bertie. Aki watched the boy's stick lift off the ice, and he saw his hand slide down the shaft of the stick. He bore down on Bertie at full speed as Dietrich passed the puck back to Bertie. Too late for a shot on goal. The puck went into the corner, and Bertie followed it in at full speed. The skinny boy put his head down like a raging bull, and he lifted his stick slightly. He ran into the back of Bertie, who did not see him coming from that angle. It seemed to happen in slow motion, Aki later reflected. Bertie was digging for the puck. His teammates were watching, hoping for a pass. Somehow the skinny boy was on no one's radar, and then he made impact. Bertie flew forward. He put out his hands, and there was a sickening crunch as his face hit the boards as well. Aki heard Marie scream. The whole arena heard her scream. Hans heard her scream. Bertie did not move. The assailant skated smoothly over to his own bench and left the ice. The coach had the door open before he arrived, and he gave him a nod when he entered. Hans noticed that. He watched, but Bertie still did not move. His team gathered around him. The referee was on his knees, and then he was calling for an ambulance. Suddenly, the blonde girl was on the ice, making a nuisance of herself. She was on her knees, next to his son. She kept looking up into the faces around, pleading for help. The translator boy tried to comfort her. The coach of Bertie's team was screaming at the referee. The referee was shaking his head. Feeling more emotion than he had ever felt in his life, Hans ran down all the sets of stairs to ice level. His heart was pounding in a way that it had never pounded before. He watched from a distance. Marie was still on the ice with Bertie. Why should she be there with his son when he could not be, he wondered, with a strong measure of irritation. That's what love looks like. Who would want to feel that? Hans asked himself. And then he realized that he was feeling some sort of inner turmoil. He remembered his stupid old mother telling him that one day he would feel what he was putting others through, and he had laughed at her. Feel other people's feelings, he had mocked her, and he had watched her shrivel as she always did before him. She had never understood him, but today he thought of her for the first time in decades. Was today the day he felt for someone else? He shook his head at the ridiculous thought. He could feel no pain. He only felt that his son was damaged, and he was ready to deal with the threat, just as he would deal with any threat to himself. No one could make Marie leave Bertie. Within minutes, A gurney was next to him, and the attendants lifted Bertie's unconscious body, onto it. They turned and ran to load him into the ambulance that was still sitting at the curb on the street in front of the arena. The translator boy kept telling the ambulance attendants that the girl was his sister. He kept saying "sister" in German. Everyone from Bertie's cheering section followed the gurney out, and they watched as it was loaded. The ambulance attendants refused to allow Marie to go with Bertie, and Akil stepped up to say that they would follow the ambulance in his friend's car. They all ran to the car and squealed away from the arena, leaving Hans to deal with the enemies. Hans could deal with enemies. Hans went back into the arena. He stood near the opposite team, and he listened as the coach praised the attacker in quiet, approving terms. He even ruffled the boy's hair in a gesture of affection. Hans never got angry. He got even. His mind had never been clearer. It would be a few minutes until the opposition team changed to leave, so Hans walked over to the other changing room. "It's time something was done," Bertie's coach was yelling at the referee. "Are you waiting until one of my boys is killed? You know how that coach operates. The longer you allow this to go on, the more the other coaches think that violence is the only way to win against them. That young man that was hurt today was here to help us. He's Canadian, here on winter break to be with his sister. That coach and that kid should be arrested. They broke our center's arm and our forward's shoulder. The arm was broken with a downward slash of the hockey stick that the ref just happened not to see. The shoulder was broken with the same cross-check that was used on Bertie. All of Switzerland owes that kid an apology. If you do not do something now, it's a license for that team to kill kids." Hans walked away, wondering if anyone had ever stood up for him like that. When most of the opposition team had changed and left, only the coach and the offending kid remained. Hans stayed invisible to them, listening at the door of the changing room. "Need a ride home?" asked the coach. "I'll take you for a burger and some fries, if you want. You deserve a reward." "Nah, my dad'll be here in a minute, or eventually. I'm going to wait out in the parking lot so that I don't have to think about those whiners. See you tomorrow." "Night," said the coach. That's the end of chapter 71. I look forward to seeing you for chapter 72. That's called Hans' Game Now. And again, that chapter has a warning for violence.